So this is Darren Dinsmore and we're at TinyCamp. So welcome to the beautiful Oak Creek Canyon in Sedona, Arizona. And I'm going to take you on a little tour of the project and tell you a little bit about some of the details. TinyCamp was built and designed as a demonstration project for tiny homes. It's one of the first tiny home projects in northern Arizona, and it features units on foundations, units on wheels that are put on foundations, and a tiny home on wheels. So it has three different types of tiny homes, all in one neighborhood, in one space. So we invite people to come here to get away from their hectic lives, to sort of refresh themselves and connect with nature in this beautiful environment. So we're standing right now in front of Renew and Flow. These are two of the tiny homes. They're kind of the yin and the yang kind of design. One's very sort of dark and masculine and sort of like the man cave, and that's Renew. And the other one is Flow, which is more feminine, lots of natural light. But they're the same basic design unit. These are kind of a tumbleweed design, original J. Schaefer, but version 2.0. They look pretty small from the exterior, but I'm 6'2", and I was shocked when I first walked inside of them and got to feel, the high ceilings and the space and the lofts. And they actually feel a lot bigger on the inside than what you'd think. We really paid attention to the indoor-outdoor space. So these large decks, which are 500 to 600 square feet of decking, are at grade with the front door, so there's no step. It feels like it's part of the indoor space and a natural extension. And then they also have patios as well that allow you to further enjoy the outdoor space and this beautiful sun that we have in Arizona and this climate. And this is the Renew tiny house, and the symbolism of it, this unit's all made of recycled material. The theme behind the Renew tiny house is the fire and about birth and renewal, and we want to invite people here to go through their own process of renewal and rejuvenation when they come to TinyCamp. The tiny house is built into the side of a cliff in the beautiful Oak Creek Canyon, and this tiny house is on a permanent foundation. And we use the foundation. You can see we're not quite finished all the construction details here, but we're using the foundation as part of the retaining wall for the slope and to create this outdoor patio space. So we believe that with the tiny houses, it's really important to have well-designed and thought out indoor-outdoor space. So this is the patio. We have a large deck as well. And this tiny house features a hot tub, but it's unique in that it's a saltwater mineral bath hot tub. So it's to promote healing and wellness. Sedona is a dark sky community, so this is a wonderful place. We have no street lights. It's fairly dark at night. To stargaze at night in the hot tub and enjoy the canyon. So this is the Renew tiny house. And as you can see, we really focused on this kind of being the man cave of TinyCamp, using a lot of dark woods and recycled materials in this house. And it's fairly simple design and layout. And this has a mini split, which functions both for cooling and heating in the canyon and for climate control. And I guess one thing I want to point out is, in sourcing furniture for tiny homes, it can be somewhat of a challenge. Finding a love seat / large chair to fit in this space was a huge challenge, and it took almost a year. So finally, a year later, we have a comfortable place to sit and to curl up and read a book and invite guests to come over and stay. In the Renew tiny house, we have 160 square feet of usable space, plus the loft area, and we've got built-ins with storage in the stairs and a small closet that provide both access to the sleeping loft and some fairly decent storage actually on this side of the unit. And as you can see on this side, a fully functioning kitchen. It's a full-size stove, refrigerator, microwave, and a fair amount of storage space. I guess what I learned in looking at tiny homes is there's a lot of people, a lot of builders that want to build their first tiny home, but you cannot take builder grade materials and make it small and create a space that people want to stay in. And everything that you touch has to be high quality. And so this is, granite countertops and high-end hardware and fixtures. Anything that you would touch that's tactile has to be a high quality, or your experience of a small space is diminished. So it's almost like the design of a boat, when there's care taken in all the details and the spaces and the small things at the same time. And one example of that is the glass door, frosted glass door on the bathroom. It's a very small space, and just this sliding glass door lets in a significant amount of southern light into the bathroom and shower area, so much so that you actually do not need the lights on when you're in the bathroom. And it provides decent privacy at the same time. So this is the Flow tiny house, and it's named that because about the flow of energy in this canyon, but also because this is the closest unit to the creek. So right now you can hear the creek. It's right across the street, and it's the kind of famous, which is synonymous with Sedona and Oak Creek Canyon. This is the Flow tiny house. It's 160 square feet plus the loft. This was built by the Construction Careers Academy, same as the last tiny home we looked at, Renew. And we really focused on, again, the indoor-outdoor space and the large deck. The deck extends from the small little 3x3 foot square porch and wraps around, and then we've got some nice natural stone steps going down to the roadway. So with that, I'd like to invite you in and have a look inside. So in the Flow tiny house, it's about good use of space and design. I will point out that we've got a full kitchen without the dishwasher, but everything else. A microwave, oven, and fridge, and bathroom, like the other units, and the stairway to the loft, and the sleeping area. And one thing we found, we've only been open 10 weeks. And we have had a lot of millennials come and stay here, and they don't have a lot of belongings, but they have their technology and they do have some stuff. So what we actually added in is this little stool that can be used as a stool, but also as a luggage rack, and that can actually stay underneath the stairs. So there's actually a place underneath the stairs, which is otherwise wasted space. And again, we have the same furniture piece as the last unit, comfy chair. And in this unit, we do not have built-in storage like the last one. So I'd have to say this is our most challenging unit from a storage perspective. We do have, and we have used all of the space in the small loft in the front. And this is basically for indoor-outdoor furniture. So everything serves 3 purposes, or we had to get rid of it. There just wasn't enough space. So we have a poof that's indoor-outdoor, and this can be left outside in the rain even. We have outdoor seating cushions that can also be used inside, and blankets and games and things like that. Again, these are all indoor-outdoor things that you can use to enhance your visit and your stay at TinyCamp. So we're at the Breathe tiny house. It's our most modern design. It features a steel roof, and we're gonna have rainwater collection, and we're actually designing and sizing that system right now. Rainwater collection and reuse is important in a place like Arizona and the Oak Creek Canyon. So we're combining gray water recycling with rainwater capture. So our water use is gonna be pretty minimal. This tiny home is designed to maximize the views. And so we have large 6 foot by 6 foot windows, taking advantage of the view of Mount Wilson, and even a higher window behind me from the kitchen. So while you're doing the dishes, you can look out at the top of Mount Wilson as well. So a lot of tiny homes are on flat land. They're a couple feet off the ground. And then people build a small deck, maybe 6-8 inches above the ground. So you have one step out, and then you have your outdoor space. In this case, we're trying to build it into the side of a hill, and we want to take advantage of these wonderful views that we have at TinyCamp. And so we elevated it up, so we're 8 feet off the ground on this side, 3 feet off the ground on this side, and we have a retaining wall creating a foundation for the unit. So the Breathe tiny house is on wheels on a mobile home foundation, and it's tied down with straps. And the one thing we had to research and find out was straps to have this unit tied down to a 90-mile-an-hour winds, and we had to find forged steel straps. And once we figured out their loads, I think it was 4,600 pounds each of lateral load, we were able to secure this down and also meet the building code requirements and our insurance requirements. The only issue when you do that, or something that you have to think about, is cost, because as soon as you go higher than 30 inches, then you have to have legal reviewed and approved guardrails, handrails, and stairs. All of our decks and stairs added significantly to the budget, but we think, given our site, it was well worth it. So with that, I want to invite you in to check out the inside. So we're in the Breathe tiny house, and the whole idea at TinyCamp is our tiny homes are themed, and their names are kind of the emotions and the feeling we want you to have when you come here to relax and get away. And this is about breathing, and this is about the canyon and being in nature. And this is a very much more modern and minimalist design than our other tiny homes. It's actually a little bit bigger. This is a 8-foot by 24-foot built on a trailer on wheels that was also certified as an IRC building and put on a mobile home foundation. Now that might sound confusing, but what it does is it allows for maximum flexibility, that if you ever wanted to move this and take it somewhere else, you could. But right now it's taxed as a permanent structure, and it's very stable. It doesn't move around. All of our units are designed to be a demonstration of different elements of sustainability and green building. So this is steel, recycled steel stud construction, and this is all denim insulation. So recycled denim insulation throughout. So what we found is this tiny home is actually about 2,500 pounds lighter than the other ones, even though it's bigger because of that recycled steel frame. The Breathe tiny home features recycled oak, wood, but also it has a downstairs sleeping area. So this is a queen bed pull-out. It's actually pretty comfortable. And everything, this whole space is flexible. So this is a lightweight stool that can be moved. And also these side tables can also be used as a dining table in the center or as laptop tables, you know, at the sofa itself. Yeah, we think it's a great design. This is probably going to be a model that we're going to use for future projects. And we're probably going to actually go a little bit bigger and go 10 feet wide and 28 feet long, because we feel then you can have a true downstairs bedroom plus a sleeping loft. So this unit right now is 24 feet by 8, and it does have a sleeping loft, and it has stairs going up to that loft. So as an urban planner, one of the things that challenges me is everyone's talking about tiny houses, tiny houses, tiny houses. Tiny houses for what? Tiny houses where? If you're going to build a tiny house that goes out in the wilderness, maybe you want to use a tumbleweed design or a more quaint design like some of our other units. But if you're going to use a tiny house as an accessory dwelling unit or put them in a village, you know, how are you going to have privacy? How are you going to have natural light and things like that? And you need to be cognizant of your tiny house depending on where it's going to ultimately go. So this tiny house was designed as an example of one that has a high degree of active and passive design. So on this side of the unit, we've got lots of glass going very high, lets in a lot of natural light. 90% of the natural light comes in from the top 10% of the window. So that extra foot at that window lets in a significant amount of light into this area. On the other side of the tiny house, we have quite small windows and narrow windows, and they're higher, so that if you had a unit that had their outdoor space beside you, it's much more private. So again, you'd have an active side of the house, which is your entrance and exit and outdoor space, and then a passive side of the house, which is probably where your neighbor is going to have their active side of the space as well. So I guess one thing we've learned with tiny houses is about kitchen design. If you're going to have a tiny house that has an oven in it, according to your local building code, that's going to be classified as a dwelling unit, and that changes the whole perspective on where you can put them and the zoning. Most zoning bylaws allow you to have an accessory dwelling or a guest suite, and in a lot of cases it can't have a full kitchen. So you're going to want to read your local zoning ordinances and know exactly what that definition is of accessory dwelling unit or guest suite. Most jurisdictions do not right now have a definition of tiny house, and you can help get that in the code, but that might take a couple of years. So in this tiny house, we have a drawer microwave that's quite efficient and uses a very limited amount of space and doesn't take up a lot of your countertop space. We've got 2 burners on a stovetop here, and then we basically have a standard, convection oven, toaster oven here. But this is a way to enable you to put this tiny house anywhere and meet the definition of a guest suite in the zoning ordinance. So we first met actually in San Antonio, Texas at the Construction Careers Academy, and they had built and were auctioning off tiny homes. That took a year and a half to build, and they were some of the most unique tiny homes in the country because they were approved under the Uniform Building Code. And as an urban planner, I like to follow the rules.
But it is an auction, I'll sell it.
Purchased 4 tiny homes from the Construction Careers Academy.
Sold it! $24,750. Congratulations, sir. You just bought all 4 houses.
And then spent a couple of years working on rewriting zoning codes and ordinances to have them end up in beautiful Sedona, Arizona. So TinyCamp is a demonstration project for sustainable living using tiny homes. We're going to have 5 different options, and it was demonstrating basically tiny homes on a foundation, tiny homes on wheels, and then tiny homes on wheels that are actually on piers. It's a demonstration project for different types of sustainable living. This is a 12-mile long canyon with 450 properties, and environmentally there will never be another property created here. So how do we make the best use of the vacant land that we have left? We thought this would be a great example of what to do with these small, difficult to build on lots in the canyon, as opposed to approving new development and putting in new roads and new impacts. So we were making use of existing unbuilt lots that have been vacant for 50 years. This is Oak Creek Canyon. We're sitting under a heritage oak tree. The oak tree is in the center of the lot. If we were to build a normal house, and we would have had to cut down the tree to build the house. So by putting 2 detached structures or tiny homes, we were able to save the heritage oak tree. The third part of that is the grading. We were working with civil engineers and the Department of the Environment at the county to figure out how we can set the grades of the tiny homes so that the foundations are actually retaining walls, helping to retain the slope. Most tiny home villages are sort of tiny homes wheeled in and parked. And this was 6 months of grading and retaining walls and gabion baskets to get it to fit into the hillside. We think that this is how the tiny house movement will be successful, in that first you start with what the building official knows, which is units on foundations. Then you move to units on wheels that are on permanent foundations, and then units on wheels. So over the course of a year, we were able to do all of that in one project. So now they're open to all of those types of projects going forward. Thanks for joining us at TinyCamp today. You can follow us on Instagram, or you can check out our website at www.tinycamp.com.
Hey guys, it's Alexis.
And Christian.
Thank you very much for watching our video.
Yes, and subscribing to our channel.
And don't forget to check out more tiny house stories
And tours.
Oh, and don't forget to join us on Patreon.
And again, don't forget to subscribe.
See you next time.
Take it easy, guys.